very wonderful morning to you and welcome to the Breakfast Cafe show on Immaculate Television ITVS. Good morning, Nigerians and those watching us outside Nigeria. Welcome to the show. It's September the 10th, 2025, and we're here to bring you up to speed with the happenings, the big stories making the rounds on our national dailies. We're talking about politics, entertainment, business, and so many things that we have to bring to you to keep you entertained, because there are so many things happening right now that you cannot miss out on. So you're welcome to the show. I am Grace Ugala here, and I'm not doing this alone. I have my wonderful colleague here with me this morning, Samuel Akintunde. Good morning, Samuel.
Yeah, good morning to you, Grace. Good morning to our viewers from across the globe. It feels good to be back in the studio. And of course, this is a midweek edition of the program Breakfast Cafe on Immaculate Television ITVS. Thank you for joining us this morning. Just like she said, and rightly so, we are here to bring you up to speed with the latest in our country, Nigeria, and even outside the shore of Nigeria, because it is a duty and responsibility to, gather the news and, of course, disseminate them to you so that you can know what is happening around you in your community, in your state, and in our nation at large. Samuel Akintunde is my name, and of course, it's always a pleasure to be your companion on the show this morning.
Before we dive into the business of the day, Samuel, I'd like to ask you, how has your week been going so far?
Yeah, of course, the week has been very, very good up until yesterday, because the big story is the fact that the Super Eagles might be missing out on another World Cup. As they stand now, they are on the verge of not getting the tickets because the dynamics in Group C, where they find themselves, South Africa is topping, you have Benin Republic second, and Super Eagles occupy the top position, and only one team will qualify automatically. The second team can, fancy their chances of getting the playoff ticket, which is very, very, difficult and stressful, because the routes, using the playoff route is very, very. So we can say that Super Eagles will not, be represented
but
the FIFA World
Cup. We can't tell yet.
No, we can't.
We can't tell. I think maybe we should be bringing our calculators and our prayers up to speed. Maybe that would...
even if you calculate now, even if you calculate from now to next year, the reality is that Super Eagles will not qualify for the World Cup. That's just what it is. Let's just say it the way it is. And it's very, very sad. The World Cup that we have 48 countries representing, participating. Nigeria will not be part of it. So it's very, very sad. When it was 3 countries from Africa, Nigeria qualified. When it was 5 countries, Nigeria qualified. And now that FIFA has increased the number of participants, that Africa, we have 9 countries that will qualify automatically. And then the other country, the other tickets, the other slots might also be won by another African country. But the 9 countries will automatically qualify. And then you don't have Nigeria there. And this will be the first time ever that Nigeria will miss out the FIFA World Cup tournament consecutively, because the last time in 2022 in Qatar, Nigeria did not qualify. And then here we are again. So it's very, very sad. My week has been very, very good, but yesterday, the reality dawned on us that we might not be representing the FIFA World Cup.
Which is, of course, a sad one.
Yeah, that's
well, it's never the end of the... It's never the end. It's never... we still can't lose hope.
That's what
but
we do.
We
that's
Nigerians,
what we do in this part of the world.
Yeah, we so much dwell on miracles.
Exactly.
Miracles
we fail
to
do the needful. And this is not even part of... This is not only, this is not only peculiar to sports. Even in our day-to-day life, even in our governance, in our business, we tend to live what is expected of us. We don't do it then. We start to be praying for miracles. And praying for the downfall of
when you won't put in actions, you're praying for miracles. That takes me to international scene in Nepal, where there are protests, people, youth going out to protest against the government, saying that enough is enough. They can no longer take the bad governance in their country. And you had to see the video where there were thousands of youth. When I mean thousands, I'm not talking about hundreds. I'm talking about thousands of youth people. Yeah, on the street protesting, carrying cards and all that, protesting, going to government houses, bringing down structures. They even got to a point of violence where they started destroying buildings and burning places. Of course, that wasn't a good one. And it took my mind back to 2021, where there was NSAS in the country. 2020, where there was NSAS in the country. I was like, okay, you can see people now taking actions, especially the citizens being tired of complaining and begging the government. Now you could see them on the street going out to fight for their rights, going out to call on the government that if you don't come to our aid anymore, we're going to do the unbelievable. And you can see even the Prime Minister of the country, he came out and said he has officially resigned. That was yesterday. He has stepped down. But yet, the protesters are still saying, no, stepping down is not what we want. We need all of you in the government out, not just... So,
you see, I think we are going to get to that point in Nigeria where we no longer take it. I mean, we saw it in 2020. It was massive.
It was massive.
The NSAS protest, it was NSAS protest, end police brutality, because of, the atrocity committed by NSAS, the atrocity committed by, SARS and policemen to, Nigerian youths. So we were very, very angry, and it got to a point that we could no longer take it, and the youth reacted. But now, that's one of, the issues. End police brutality, end SARS. I mean, we need to make it general. Of course, we saw it most recently, I think last year or early this year, end bad governance. I mean, there was that protest, nationwide protest, end bad governance, we are tired and all of that. So if the government is not doing what is right, and then and you have citizens complaining every now and then, it will get to a point that they will demand that, they want those at the ends of the affair out of the office. They want to take back our nation, like they tagged the end back governance protest. It was tagged take back. I mean, it was a movement called Take Back Our Nation movement. So what I'm saying is, you cannot keep pushing people when you are pushing them with your inaction, your action and inaction. Lack of good governance has been a problem in this country, and I feel we are going to get to that point where people will react. But the thing is it's not about protest. It's not about you protesting. It's about doing, taking that concrete actions. We continue to protest when it's time for us to vote. People will not come out to vote. They say that they already know who will enter and all of that. So, and you know that without this electioneering process, you cannot have leaders. So if you want to change the governance, so to say, we cannot always do it, with violence. Because even if you are protesting, there are so many things at risk. The lives of innocent citizens, like you said, the protest that you just talked about now.
Today, there's a record of 22 people that have lost their lives.
You can imagine that.
I later I say comparing it to if this had to be in Nigeria, definitely the losses, the casualties would have been more. Because I know in Nigeria,
I mean, when
it comes to protesting, you see them deploying security forces. Before you know, tear gas and shooting, and so many people definitely would lose their life. I believe that one was well contained.
Do you even know that even in Nigeria, protesting will not be a possible solution? It's part of the mechanism to actually criticize, but it has to be peaceful. We have rights, to peaceful protest. We must be peaceful. But the moment where it turns violent is where the government will want to step in. And in Nigeria, I mean, the case of NSAS protest, it was almost hijacked. And that's why you see government, so many houses, offices were burnt and all of that. So many people, died.
Okay,
I'm not saying that they should protest. For me, I would say that protest is not even the best possible way to go about it, because I know that it will not be peaceful in this country, because people will want to react. Angry youth, angry Nigerian, angry concerned Nigerian will want to react, and then it can turn violent. So it's just for us to also not shy away from our civic responsibility. We need to be actively involved in politics. A lot of people will say that politics is dirty game. It's a dirty game, but it's not for dirty people.
It's for the elderly.
It's for the elite. It's for
many people say that politics is for the elderly, especially youth. Youth do not want to. They don't want to go into politics.
That's why I'm saying that you cannot change the fortune of this country if the youth are shying away from taking that civic responsibility of being actively involved. Look at Professor Yemi Osinbajo. He is a pastor. And we saw what he did when he got the opportunity. Although some people will still have reservation that he didn't perform to your expectation. But you know that he was vice president. he also showed interest to run. I mean, he also showed interest to run for presidency. He didn't get the ticket. So when we have sane, minds, like-minded people that are well educated, that that are vibrant, technocrats, people that understand what it takes to be, in government, what it is to be in governance, what it is to govern people. It's not always about, politicking. We need people that can move this country forward. That's it. And youth also, we cannot shy away from. Look, how old is the president of Senegal? How old is he? How old is the leader of Burkina Faso? These are young people. Young Nigerians also need to step up.
Of course, people really need to step up to their duties, of course. And we don't mean you have to go to the street and start acting as rascals.
It's not about violence.
You can just be an activist, be somebody that wants to speak up to truth, that wants to speak truth to power. Yeah, it does not necessarily mean you carry violence and all that. Well, this is also a wake-up call to the youth, right? And also to those in power. Because if they don't do the right things, definitely people will want to take the wrong step into different things. Now, that was happening that's something that's happening in Nepal. And also there was something like that happened in Kenya of the Gen Z protesting and all that. All right, let's go into the business of the day, which is a newspaper review segment. I really want to talk about this protest and so many things and trending things
maybe
in the international, but it's just because of our time, we have to
really pressed for time.
We go into the business of the day. All right, we have so many national days with us. We have the Punch, Daily Independent, the Guardian, the Vanguard. We have Nigerian News Direct, Tribune, and the likes. Yes. So starting this morning with the Punch newspaper, the big story there, as you can see, doctors to decide on nationwide strike today. Doctors to decide on nationwide strike today. That was on page 7 and 29 of the Punch newspaper, with the riders to that story. NARD's NEC meets to review government response to demands. NAMED decries $1 billion yearly spending on medical tourism. And also, Tinubu restates commitment to health sector transformation, vows to end hospital power crisis with hybrid solution. That's on. You can find more detail of that on page 7 and page 29 of the Punch newspaper. And looking at the masthead, we have Nipeng suspends strike as Dangote accepts union's demand. Nipeng suspends strike as Dangote accepts union's demand. That's on page 23 of the Punch. And 31 states domestic debt hits 2.57 trillion naira. 31 states domestic debt hits 2.57 trillion naira. That's on page 23 of the Punch. And also there's this one with the kicker, 2027 presidency. Jonathan splits South-South PDP. Jonathan splits South-South PDP on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. And also vehicle theft. 3 Nigerians jailed 96 years in Ghana. A vehicle theft. 3 Nigerians jailed 96 years in Ghana. You can find more of that Metro story on page 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper. And also, 5 soldiers terrorists feared killed in Zamfara clash. 5 soldiers, terrorists feared killed in Zamfara clash. On page 18 of the Punch has more detail of that story. And lastly, PDP SAN's protest as Senate blocks Natasha's return. PDP SAN's protest as Senate blocks Natasha's return. That's on page 18 of the Punch newspaper.
I will begin from the Matrix newspaper this morning. Matrix, rather, Knowledge, Power and Future. Natasha Senate face-off. Natasha Senate face-off, fresh crisis brews. You can't resume plenary now. Senators embattled senator. PDP National Assembly directive highly proactive. Constitutes clear present danger to democracy. PDP saying that NAS directive highly highly provocative, constitutes clear present danger to democracy. I take that again. Natasha Senate face-off. Fresh crisis brews. You can't resume plenary now. Senators embattled senator. Then PDP reacts saying National Assembly directive highly provocative, constitutes clear and present danger to democracy. Page 3 of the Matrix newspaper has the details. There's been this back and forth between Natasha Apoti Uduan, the senator representing Kogi Central Senatorial District. I think our 6 month suspension should be over now.
It's over, and she's making an attempt to go back to return to the Senate, but they are not approving her return yet. And it's already sparkling drama.
Sparkling reactions.
Yeah, reactions and
comments from people.
Yeah,
people are criticizing the National Assembly.
Really
I don't really know the reason why she's not been allowed into the National Assembly complex. I don't know. They are saying that the case is still in court, or I don't know. But maybe we get to know in the news, because of course
we'll get to know, because it's something that's infringing on somebody's constitutional rights. So we really hope to see more of that.
Truce at last. Nopeng Petron suspend strike. Truce at last. Nopeng Petron suspend strike. Dangote refinery gives drivers green lights to join unions. And federal government bows to pressure, says no immediate plan to enforce 5% fuel tax. Truce at last. Nopeng Petron suspend strike. You can find the details of that big story that talks about the petroleum sector on page 2 of the Matrix newspaper this morning. Flight disruptions, passenger complaints. NCAA holds meeting with airlines today. Flight disruptions, passenger complaints. NCAA holds meeting with airlines today. Page 9 of the Matrix has more. Federal government, Tinubu's bold share export policy will make Nigeria a global leader. Federal government, Tinubu's bold share export policy will make Nigeria a global leader. That's coming from federal government of Nigeria, saying that the president's bold export policy will make Nigeria a global leader. Page 11 of the Matrix has more. Deepening economic partnerships. Then you can see the big picture of the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, second from the right, presenting a souvenir to the chairman of the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council, Lord Maland of Oshtok, who led a delegation to visit the governor at the Lagos House in Marina yesterday, talking about the partnerships for economic prosperity of Lagos State. You can find the details of that story on the front page of the Matrix newspaper. NICOM orders reinsurance companies to submit recapitalization plans by September 30th. NICOM orders reinsurance companies to submit recapitalization plans by September 30th. You can find that on page 3 of the Matrix newspaper this morning. Content creator Jarvis explained why she hasn't married younger fiancé Pella. Content creator Jarvis explained why she hasn't married younger fiancé Pella. I know that the Gen Z will be very, very, very much interested about this story. So it's an entertainment story, and it's written on page 21 of the Matrix newspaper this morning. Starmer condemns Israeli strike on Qatar to press Azog on Gaza crisis. Page 23 of the Matrix newspaper has more. That's the world news from the Matrix this morning. 2026 World Cup qualifier. Nigerians hopes dim further after draw with South Africa as Rwanda win. That's the big story coming from the world of sports this morning.
All right, let's go to the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. The big story there, suspension, Senate Natasha in fresh drama. That's on page 4. It has a lot of riders. You can find more detail of that on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Dangote Nupeng reach agreement, strike called off. How DSS intervened. You can find that on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. FIRS EFCC strengthen alliance to enforce voluntary tax compliance. That's on page 6 of the paper. And we won't tolerate power supply crisis in tertiary hospitals. We won't tolerate power supply crisis in tertiary hospitals. That's coming from Tinubu with the rider. 40% functional PHCs in Nigeria lack access to electricity. That's a report. You can find that on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. And Northern elders urge governors to negotiate with bandits. Northern elders urge governors to negotiate with Badi. That's on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. And to the Guardian newspaper, the big story there says federal government under pressure as DMO blames FX. Global stock shocks for rising debt. Federal government under pressure as DMO blames FX. Global shocks for rising debt. That's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. And going international, we have this one. Nepal to edge as Prime Minister. Key ministers resign over alleged graft and social media ban. That's on page 6. You can see the picture of the protesters with a banner there, Gen Zs against corruption and nepotism. You can find more detail of that story on page 8 of The Guardian. And also, flight delays, disruption. NCAA summons domestic airlines to Abuja. Page 5 of The Guardian has more detail of that story. And lastly, Delta slashes dialysis costs, expand health reforms. Delta slashes dialysis costs, expand health reforms. You can find more detail of that on The Guardian newspaper, page 9. Over to you, sir.
Now to Vanguard newspaper. World leaders' envoys condemn Israel attacks on Qatar. World leaders' envoys condemn Israel's attacks on Qatar. And 5 riders to that particular story. Attack reactions to Monday's Jerusalem shooting. Netanyahu, that's the Prime Minister of Israel, attack reactions to Monday's Jerusalem shooting. That's coming from Netanyahu. UK PM distances serve Iran attack. Experts call for de-escalation of crisis. It's a serious situation, Pope Leo says. So many leaders across the world are moving against the Israel attack on Qatar. World leaders, envoys condemn Israel's attacks on Qatar. Can find out on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Nupeng suspends strike after DSS brokered truce with Dangote. That's a big story from the petroleum sector this morning. Nupeng suspends strike after DSS brokered truce with Dangote. Our kidnapped major was rescued in Delta community. Our kidnapped major was rescued in Delta community. You can find out on page 6 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Gridlock as flash floods take over Lagos roads, paralyze businesses. Gridlock as flash floods take over Lagos road, paralyze businesses. Page 7 of the Vanguard has more. We brand Nigeria as global culinary powerhouse. Kalejaye vows. We brand Nigeria as global culinary powerhouse. Kalejaye vows. That's coming from page 15 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Don't implement in hurry, experts tell federal government, talking about the new curriculum. Don't implement in hurry, experts tell federal government. That's coming from the education sector. 2027, more governors, senators, reps eager to join APC, says Yitwada. The APC national chairman is speaking very confidently ahead of the 2027 general election, saying more governors, senators, reps eager to join APC, the ruling party. Page 12 of the Vanguard newspaper has more. Eagles draw against Bafana, sad for Nigeria football. Akpeyi says, Eagles draw against Bafana, sad for Nigerian football, says Akpeyi. Nope, okay, I've read that already. Of course, I think Tinubu's bold reforms prove of political will in executing economic policy. Vice President Kashim Shettima. Expiration of suspension. PDP kicks as Senate denies Natasha resumption. Of course, that's also in the news on Vanguard News this morning. Over to you, Grace.
All right, the last papers I have with me, I have the Daily Trust newspaper. The big story there, how flood swept away 2 sisters, others in Zaria. How flood swept away 2 sisters and others in Zaria. Female accountant found dead inside car in FCT. That's on Daily Trust newspaper, page 6. Female accountant found dead in car in FCT. And also condemnations as Israel military hit Hamas leaders in Doha. Page 22 of the Daily Trust has that detail. And we won't implement full tax now, Oyedele. We won't implement full tax now. And okay, over to the Daily Times newspaper, which is the last paper I have for you here. Multiple taxation killing hotel businesses in Nigerian Association. Page 2 of the Daily Times newspaper. Ignore NAS. Get ready to resume plenary. PDP charges Senator Akpoti Uduaghan. Ignore NAS. Get ready to resume plenary. PDP charges Senator Akpoti Uduaghan. That's on page 14 of the Daily Times newspaper. And UK government announces 19 million euros funding for climate resilience. UK government announces 19 million euros funding for climate resilience, health development in Nigeria. That's on page 4 of the Daily Times newspaper. And reps summon transport minister over train derailment. Reps summon transport minister over train derailment. And that's all the stories I can take on page 8 of the Daily Times newspaper.
Yeah, the last one as the This Day newspaper. Natasha citing pending appeal court case. NAS blocks Senator's resumption despite suspension expiration. Natasha citing pending appeal court case. NAS blocks Senator's resumption despite suspension expiration. That's the reason that the NAS, National Assembly, the upper House of Legislative, talking about the Nigerian Senate. That's the excuse they are giving, that the reason they are still blocking, they are still resisting that Natasha will not resume plenary is the fact that the case she has a pending case and the courts unresolved. Yeah, but I don't know. She can resume plenary while the case is still being on in the court. So but we don't really know if that is legitimate enough for her not to resume plenary even after the expiration of a suspension. PDP condemns move to stop Natasha resumption, tells Senator to get ready to resume at NAS. That's the big story from This Day newspaper. Edun Oyedele say no plan to implement 5% fuel surcharge in January. Edun Oyedele say no plan to implement 5% fuel surcharge in January. Clarify the lingering controversy. DSS brokers truce as oil workers call off nationwide strike. DSS brokers truce as oil workers call off nation. I think that's the only positive story, a big positive story from the petroleum sector. Of course, it's good now that they have called off the nationwide strike, talking about the workers.
It's a good one, but it's also ringing bells to so many people. Some people are saying, is it the unions that have failed right now, or Nigerians not being able to step out and speak out for what they want?
I think that's all we have for you.
And that's all we have. That's all the papers we have for you this morning. Thank you very much for being with us till this time. Thank you, Samuel Akin, today. All right, we'll be going on a short break, and when we come back, we'll dive into the next part of the show. Stay with us. welcome back from that break. You're still on to the Breakfast Cafe show on Immaculate Television, ITVS. We just had the newspaper review segment, and it's now time to dissect some of the stories we've read to you. All right, I have our guests, our in-house public affairs analyst, Comrade Seun Oyelowo. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you. Thank you.
It's nice having you join us on the show this morning.
Thank you. Same here.
All right, there are so many things, stories that we saw trending on the front pages of our national dailies, talking about a resumption of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan to the suspended senator back to Senate. We saw so many things about Dangote, tax, and so many things. But let's start with this story here. From the Guardian newspaper. No indication 5% fuel surcharge will begin in January, says Oyedele. All right. So the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Taiwo Oyedele, has dismissed speculations that the 5% surcharge on fuel will take effect from January 2026. Since reports about the surcharge made headlines, Nigerians have faulted the move, with the Trade Union Congress TUC threatening to strike if the decision is not reversed. However, Oyedele has faulted the union over its threats, arguing that the surcharge was introduced by a previous government and not the administration of President Bola Tinubu. On concerns about inflation, he noted that the real economic burden comes from poor roads, networks, and illegal tax imposed during transportation. Okay, so over to you, Comrade.
Well, it's another great day. We must thank God for life. But we must also dissect the issues making the rounds and reflect on happenings in our country, our dear nation, Nigeria. 5% fuel surcharge or tax is what the government is proposing to introduce into the system. You have a problem in place. You have poverty on the high side. You have the myriads of problems caused by the removal of fuel subsidy that Nigerians are still grappling with. You go to homes, people cannot even boast of 3 square meals per day. In some homes, it's hard to even get a meal in a day. The poverty rate in this country has reached an alarming crescendo. It's so unfortunate. The economy is in shambles. Our lives not the way it used to be before, and things have degenerated significantly. That the haves are now have-nots. That those who were in the middle class are now down the ladder now. That's the reality. In the midst of all that, now Nigerians are just trying to get their lives back. And some are getting adapted to the inflicted hardship that they've placed on us. We now hear of another one, which will further escalate the pains, the problems. It will further excruciate the pain that Nigerians have. Look at the cost of pump price of petrol. Not even affordable to many Nigerians. That. Now, those concerned, especially those who are agitators of the people, who must feel the brunt of it if it's implemented, that are feeling the pain of the already inflicted hardship due to policy issues that we have in this country, economic policy issues that we have in this country. You talk of the organized labor, are now kicking that, look, government, you have to rescind your decision of proposing this. Cancel it outrightly. It's outside cancellation that they are calling for, not a suspension, not a postponing the date. No, we are talking about outright cancellation. Cancel it outrightly.
Okay, comrade, there's this
Because it will
statement he
further
made. He assured Nigerians that the
pains.
reform initiatives of Tinubu administration will yield results, asking for patience from the citizens. So I would like to ask you, do you think, he's still asking that Nigerians should be patient with the administration, do you see the 2 years, remaining 2 years of this administration yielding any results, just as he has said?
Well, relative. When you say wait and patience and result, that's relative. It's been yielding results to some extent, but not. It's been a snail-like very unnoticeable movement, upward movement, in terms of the benefits we've derived from some of the policies of the Tinubu administration. Yes, they told us that it could have short-term benefit, long-term benefit, not much of immediate benefit. But you are calling for patience all the time. We've been so patient, and we've been patient for more than 2 years. And we know that after this, in fact, 2027 is more than close to 2 years away. But the politicking has started in earnest
Already.
And you wonder if they are still very committed to the issue of governance, if they are giving priority and in terms of attention to the welfare and well-being of the Nigerian populace than their own political aspirations. You see them talk more of political permutations, who is the cabin to this, how to perhaps weaken the other person in the other party. You hear of the anti-graft agency as alleged chasing some political enemies or opponents, as it were. You also hear of the police and DSS and so many things, shenanigans here and there. So you wonder if they are really committed, or they feel that the remaining 1 or 2 years, or a year and let's say 8 months or 7, thereabout, whether they will deliver to the Nigerian people. The time they have that opportunity, and that we've seen from previous administration when it comes to commitment, will be the very first 2 years. In the first 2 years of the Tinubu administration, what has it been able to achieve? Have we seen accelerated movement in terms of policy, in terms of action?
All right, comrade.
So you want to tell me that the next 2 years will be better than the first 2 years in terms of commitment, where you will be saddled with other things like politicking, how to ensure that you come back to power or your party wins the election? Yes, we'll continue with our patience, but there is a limit to it.
All right.
And it depends on your performance, and it depends on if the dividends of democracy and the effects of your policies, economic policies, that are cause more hardship for Nigerians. You call it the initial planes. Good, we've accepted. We've been battling with that, and we are trying to look at, okay, let's keep our fingers crossed, let's be hopeful, let's be so optimistic that good days will come. But if they don't come, Nigerians could revolt through their votes. Yes, that could happen.
All right, thank you, comrade. Let's go to the next story. The next topic we're talking about. Dangote Newpeng has reached an agreement, and the strike has been called off. Let's look at it from the Premium Times, what is reporting. The Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, Newpeng, yesterday have suspended its strike following an agreement with the management of Dangote Refinery to recognize the workers' right to unionize. The agreement was reached at a closed-door meeting and all that. So the resolution was contained in the MOU and signed on behalf of the management. And all right, so the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment, okay, there are so many things to that, but what I want to talk about now is this strike that they have called off.
I think it's a good news.
Down after an agreement with Dangote Refinery. Do you think? Do you see this as a positive move?
It is. That's what I've just said. It is a positive move. At least, avoidable crisis, and that crisis has been avoided. Although we witnessed a bit of it on the very first day when we had some filling stations shut down, and the piles of fuel, artificial scarcity occurred, and not even available or accessible in some places. You just plunged Nigerians into another series of pains, excruciating one. You know, that commodity, petroleum products, are very essential to our national and daily life in this nation. So, but it's a good news that they've called off the strike. But is the strike necessary? Was it necessary in the first place? You talk about issue of unionism. You talk about, okay, one party or the other wanting to effectively deliver on its promise and perhaps maximize profits as well. You talk of unionism. It's based on international convention and certain rights within the nation, Nigeria. You have the Constitution that guarantees freedom of association. You have the Constitution that also guarantees freedoms of speech, movement, etc. And it relates to freedom of association. We have different associations. You talk of the Nigerian Resident Association of Resident Doctors, the NAD. You talk of other professional bodies with associations. So tanker drivers, drivers of articulated vehicles, yes, they can belong to their own association. You even have the NURTW, the Road Union Transport Workers. So you have them in different categories. So what stops people who are workers in a private entity from having a union? Yes, unionism is part of their rights as guaranteed in the nation, and there are regulations and procedures for it. If you have up to a certain number of employers within your establishment, they are free to form a union within that enclave. Yes, they are. But you see, there is this virus that is highly infectious that you don't want to sometimes allow your own employees to get infected with. Because it doesn't pay the establishment good and sometimes the nation. There's one thing that comes to bad union, that when you talk of bad unionism in the Nigerian parlance, they just make demands, sometimes unnecessary demands, sometimes the Oliver Twist, they are just inconsiderate or so concerned alone about their own part of the deal or the demands, and they are not also looking at the larger picture and the Nigerian economy and the state of things economically in this country. So it's just do my own. If you don't have the means to do for others, it doesn't really concern me. That is selfish in nature sometimes. So that's why you see policies from government, you see policies from sometimes private entities debarring their workers from joining any union. Some will sign undertaking. As I'm entering into this company as an employee, I won't join any union. So the issue of Dangote and others, what the crux of the matter, the members were not allowed to join any union, not even NOPENG. And come to think of it, if NOPENG, and if everybody is under NOPENG, if NOPENG goes on strike, that means every filling station won't have access to the petroleum product. If NOPENG is on strike and Dangote workers, who are the tanker drivers, are not on strike, they can mobilize, and get the commodity to Dangote stations or get it to the end users or filling stations that will be willing to buy. But if all of them are within one association and industrial action is being called, it's like holding the nation to ransom. That's why I said it's part of their rights too, but we must be considered. And that's why the government is also trying. Let's stop some from joining this. Let's divide them. Let's infiltrate into their ranks. Let's have splitter unions so that if one embarks on strike, the other may decide not to. So these are the issues. But at the long run, the issue of unionism or no unionism, joining the union or not joining the union, lifting products, should not be something that you just place the nation on hold for. That's what they've just done. They just placed the nation on hold. Is that the fault of government? It's not the fault of government.
Okay, thank you.
So it was unnecessary.
Thank you for that one. Let's go to the last story we can take for today, talking about Natasha resumption to the Senate. PDP SEN's protest as Senate blocks Natasha's return. This coming from the Punch newspaper. So the controversy surrounding Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's suspension took a fresh twist yesterday as the PDP and other senior advocates of Nigeria and several senior advocates of Nigeria condemned the Senate's decision to bar Natasha from resuming when the upper chamber reconvenes on September 23rd. And there's also this headline from the channel saying Natasha suspension, lawyer accuses Senate of double standards. So a former publicity secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association, Douglas, has faulted the suspension of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan by the Senate, describing it as a case of double standards. So I would like us to use a short time to talk about this.
Distinguished senators.
Senator Natasha.
Distinguished senators, quote and unquote. And whatever they do should have some level of distinction, and it should be honorable in their action, in their policy, and their representation of the Nigerian people. But it's been observed that we see the opposite of some of these ideals that I have mentioned, especially from the Nigerian Senate and the National Assembly as a whole. You wonder if Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's suspension has not been, in a way, subtle and indirectly translated to an indefinite suspension or a permanent suspension till the end of this particular assembly at the national level. You have the Senate president. Yes, there have been at loggerhead allegations here and there, and perhaps accusations as well. But you have the process that is on, and the House have used their own House rule to suspend the senator. A suspension has elapsed by virtue of the books and what you wrote. So months of suspension. There is a timeline and time frame to it, and that has been exhausted. Why not allow her back into the chambers? You said, oh, because she went to the court. Before, we are also seeking redress because some of these allegations amount to criminal allegations. That must be settled in law. That must be settled in the court before you allow somebody who is a representative of our own people. The resident, the constituents, they also have a right under the Nigerian Constitution to have their representative in place. And there are rules, there are laws governing even sittings of the House, governing the appearance of a member. You must appear before the National Assembly for a number of days. Failure to do that, you have not satisfied the constitutional provisions. If by your own action or interest or whatever shenanigan or whatever cohorts that you formed and cabals that you formed within, you just intend to do things with impunity, believing you have all the powers. You are Alpha and Omega. You control the Senate. And things must be done within the whims and caprices of you alone. It's only what you want that must prevail. It doesn't work that way. You must consider the entire nation and our constituent as well. It's immoral. The issue of its constitutionality, yes, we allow the courts to treat that. But it's highly immoral, and it doesn't show anything distinguished and honorable in the likes of those leadership of the Senate. Yes, what they have done or still doing is even antithetical to the democratic norms of good representation and good legislation.
Do you think
what could have been our offense? Yes, we knew. You've given her suspension. It has elapsed. You said she should apologize. And the court said, okay, a court of competent jurisdiction in this country has faulted the pattern of the suspension. And she got her own part of the blame too. Okay, Natasha, make application. Yes, you have done this. But it was also wrong for the lawmakers to have acted in this way, to have deprived her and her constituents. Why not respect the law?
Allowing her
Sorry,
back
please.
To the Senate.
If you are seeking redress or you want to appeal that judgment, which you have the legal right to do that, yes, do that. But look, as a sane mind that has the interest of the nation at heart, that also understood properly or have this proper understanding of what proper representation is. The Senate president is from a constituent. Is from a constituency. Well, we shouldn't go to how he became the Senate president and how he got into the National Assembly. Recall that the election that brought him to the Senate was somehow faulty. And the person who superintended over that election perhaps is schooling in the prison now, correctional service. But the beneficiary of that election, that seemingly or alleged porous election that fell short of certain constitutional requirements. Yes, the beneficiary is the Senate president today. as alleged. When I say it fell short of certain constitutional provisions, you know, when you have not fully satisfied the provision of the law, yes, you've been declared winner, but the process, it was later discovered that someone, you know, did some hanky-panky and all of that, and the person is cooling off somewhere. But you are the beneficiary, you have become the Senate president. How will you feel if he were to be the one that is being deprived of that Senate seat? On the flimsy excuse or flimsy accusation, I want to ask you out, I don't ask you out, I like your face, I don't like your face. These are things that matured minds should have dealt with amicably without even seeing the public coming to public domain. But they've made the mess of the whole issue of themselves. Yes, you can go and seek redress, but consider the interest of the nation too. You cannot have your cake and at the same time eat it. No, you cannot approbate and reprobate at the same time. Let the law court do their own findings. Let them give their own judgment. But follow the Constitution, and I think it is right. And show some level of responsibility and maturity in the Senate president and the leadership of the Senate if they allow her back into the Senate. And it has become their own pattern now. Look at what happened to Senator Aline Dume. Look at what happened to other senators, where you have opposing views within the Senate, or your own pattern and style doesn't gel with the leadership, or you make utterances that doesn't gel with them. They just give you different tags. They will say you've impugned, you've maligned the integrity or the whatever of the Senate, and the next thing is suspension. As if that is the only sanction. As if that is the only just punishment to give to any senator or member of the House of Assembly, the House of Representatives. They just slam them with suspension. You just wonder.
All right, thank you, Commissioner,
it's so annoying,
for voicing your opinion and your points on this issue. Thank you very much. Just like you say, I think it's constitutionally right for them to let us know what is really happening, because if they choose to suspend her even until the end of her tenure, at least they should let us let it be clear enough, because she's I don't think Natasha is the victim here.
They mobilized for the recall that failed. They've done all manner of things. Is she a threat to them?
Okay, because I know
and if she had even offended, if she had offended you as a person or the House, for how long? Consider your own people too. And the next time you go there at the national level to go and seek for vote for your party, Abi.
All right, thank you.
When you have failed them, how many senators do they have in that senatorial? Just one. You have 3 per state. Kogi Central has just 1 senator. So they've been without a senator, without a representative at the Senate. For how many? For how long now? That is not fair.
And their voice
on
has
them.
Been silent.
It is not fair on them.
All right, thank you. We have to call it a wrap.
That is not a justification. Our advocacy for her to be recalled into the Senate at the expiration of her suspension, though, is not a justification, and it's not that we are affirming or saying that arbitrary or what you call aberrant behavior should be allowed within the National Assembly. There are rules, there are guidelines, and expected layers of behavior, matured one from. So the people who should be distinguished and honorable by character, by action, by even thinking. There should be some level of.
I was going to ask you at some point that what do you think maybe is because she has refused to come out to give a public apology, or she has failed to come out to give an evidence of the sexual abuse that she claimed, or because there was a fine that was placed on her to pay, whether because she has not paid the fine, if that is the reason why she has not been allowed
Senate
back
didn't
to the
slam
Senate.
any fine. No. They did not say, Senator Natasha, you have to come and pay fine. They said she should apologize. Either she apologized or not, the time frame you've given for the suspension has elapsed. Why not allow her back? What is the essence of punishing someone? And the person has served, it's like you sending someone to jail, imprisonment, and the person had already served the jail term. Yeah, that said that during the jail term, while in jail, the person did not apologize to the judge or the authority that sentenced him or her. And by so, he or she should still stay in the jail. Or when he's out of the jail, you deprive him or her of every other thing that he ought to enjoy based on the provisions of the law. It's not right. That means we are even... Well, don't let us go into that. But
Right,
it's very annoying. It is very, very annoying.
Thank you.
You don't run a nation like that. You are bragging, you are boasting as if you are the King Kong, you are untouchable. You know how many scandals that some of these people have? You know how many issues that they are facing that has to do with criminal charges, corruption allegations? How many times have they apologized to the nation?
All right, Comrade has made his points clear to us. You can also make your points on the comment section on our Facebook page. Thank you very much for your time, sir. We have to go into the next segment of the show, which is sports and entertainment. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Good morning, viewers. Good morning, and welcome to the entertainment segment of the Breakfast Cafe, where we bring you gists from the entertainment corner this morning. I am Sarah Jimmy. And here I have with me, Housemaid tried to dim my lights. This is coming from Ivata. Evicted Big Brother Naija housemaid Ivata has claimed that her fellow housemaid tried to sabotage her while she was in the house. According to her, her colleagues perceived her as a threat and plotted against her. People were trying to dim my light, and I saw myself as a threat, regardless of what they say, whether it's no or yes. You wasn't doing enough work. I will still give myself a pat at the back for that, she said. She disclosed this in an interview. Report has it that Ivata was evicted from the reality show on Sunday along with Doris and Big Susu. I also have here with me, I'm yet to marry Pella because of his age, says Jarvis. Popular AI robotic content creator Jarvis has finally disclosed why she is yet to marry Pella, her younger boyfriend. Jarvis revealed this while speaking about her relationship with Pella, a controversial TikToker. The 23-year-old, during a recent live TikTok stream, explained that Pella's age is a significant factor delaying their marriage. Pella can change one day and said, I am too old for him. I'm old enough for marriage, but Pella's age is slowing me down. We would have been married if he was older. According to her, she says she has to ensure that he grows up to a certain age that his rights and that she can't pressure him to get married at this age. This comes after Jarvis, 23 years, confirmed her engagement to the 20-year-old TikToker during an interview. And that will be all from the entertainment scene this morning. And I'll be handing you over to Tolu Lokbe for sports.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome. We are still on the Breakfast Cafe this morning, and of course, this is the sports segment of the Breakfast Cafe. And this morning, I have two stories for you about the sports stories we have today in Nigeria. And the first one says, 2026 World Cup qualifier. Nigeria's hopes dim further after draw with South Africa as Rwanda win. 2026 World Cup qualifier. Nigeria's hopes dim further after draw with South Africa as Rwanda win. An own goal by Super Eagles captain William Troost Ekong and an equalizer from Calvin Bassey saw Nigeria held to a 1-1 draw in a crucial 2026 World Cup qualifier against South Africa in Bloemfontein on Tuesday. The Super Eagles' failure to secure maximum points away to South Africa in Bloemfontein leaves Nigeria's 2026 World Cup hopes hanging by a thread. With 2 matches left to play in the group, Nigeria are 6 points behind South Africa, who are topping Group C with 17 points, while the Super Eagles are on 11 points alongside Benin Republic, who have a match at hand. Meanwhile, Rwanda's Amavubi Stars have reignited their very slim 2026 FIFA World Cup qualification hopes after securing a crucial 1-0 win away to Zimbabwe on Tuesday, a result that sees them draw level with the Super Eagles in the Group C standings. A moment of brilliance from Gilbert Mugicha in the 40th minute proved decisive as his composed finish sealed all 3 points for Rwanda. The victory lifts the Wasps to 3rd place with 11 points from 8 matches, the same points as Nigeria after 7 games. And of course, the second story we have for you this morning says, Nigerian athletes head to Tokyo for World Championships. Nigeria athletes head to Tokyo for World Championships. Nigeria's team of athletes and officials for the 2025 World Championships in Tokyo, Japan, is set to depart the country today ahead of the event, which begins on Saturday, September 13. The contingent includes both local athletes and officials, though some of the US-based athletes, such as sprinter Koinsola Ajayi, have already arrived in the Asian country. The Nigerian squad will feature 15 athletes competing across 11 events, including the men's and women's 100-meter, women's 100-meter hurdles, men's 200-meter, and various field events like the long jump and shot put. The team is led by a mix of seasoned veterans and rising stars. Headlining the roster is the world record holder in the 100-meter hurdles, Tobi Amusan, who is joined by shot putter Chukwuebuka and 400-meter hurdles star Ezekiel Nathaniel. Long jumper Eze Brume, an African record holder, is also a key figure on the team and will be looking to replicate our past successes in Tokyo. The Athletics Federation of Nigeria's 15-athlete list is made up of 7 female and 8 female athletes. And of course, Tobi Amusan is a particular point of focus, being the only Nigerian to have ever won a world title, a feat she achieved at the 2022 edition in Oregon, USA, with a record-breaking performance in the hurdles. The team's participation in the World Championship is a significant step in Nigeria's ongoing effort to establish a stronger presence on the global athletics stage. And of course, my name once again is Tolu Lokbe Fagbola, and that is all we have for you on the sports news this morning of the Breakfast Cafe. I'll be handing you over to Grace Ugalai and Samuel Akintoday.
Thank you to Olulope Fagbola and Sarah Jimmy for that wonderful one on entertainment and sports. Quite entertaining. Samuel.
Yeah, fantastic delivery from the two of them.
I'm definitely sure you want to talk something about.
Yeah, I want to talk about Tolu. I mean, I told her to do it, and of course she did it very, very well. Excellently delivered. I mean, it was very, very good. You know, seeing ladies talk sports, it's very, very rare. But I think it's an industry where where the ladies can actually, you know, tap into and do exploits, because it is believed that sports media journalism is dominated by, you know, by men. And so when you have women, few of them that are doing well, you need to commend them, and also you need to give them accolades. So she did well. I hope that she's going to continue from here. So it's very, very good. I mean, despite the fact that Nigeria might miss out on the next World Cup, I mean, we still have some positive sport news, like the, you know, Nigerian athletes ready to go for the World Athletic Championship. I mean, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, still things to be hopeful for, and we hope that our hope will not be our hopes will.
Now, so we hope. Now we continue to be open for a better day.
Okay.
Better days ahead, of course.
Yes,
we are Nigerians. We cannot give up. Don't give up. That's the slogan.
Yes. Keep fighting. Keep pushing forward. All right, we have to call it a wrap on the show. Thank you very much for your time, for staying with us till this time. Samuel.
Yeah, thank you. We just have to thank our viewers and listeners across the globe. Thank you for your keen attention since we started the program up until this moment, for being there. You can also drop your comments. You can drop your cut, especially about that particular story that was so stretched during the analysis segment, talking about the suspended embattled Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. I know that you have one or two to say about that, that move from the National Assembly.
To the social media now, people are already coming out to say, some people are saying, yeah, she shouldn't be let back. Some people are saying, why won't she be let back? It's her right to come back. And even if they want to suspend her to the end of her tenure, they should let Nigerians know, or they should put somebody, suspend her and put somebody there that will represent the constituency, because the voice of her people now are being silent, because there's nobody to represent them.
They cannot even come out to say they want to suspend her again. They already did, and the time frame has, you know, elapsed. And they need to tell her, they need to you know, allow her into the Senate, because just like you said, the people of that constituency, they don't have representatives. So lack of representation in that part. And even on her own part, she's been deprived of her constitutional duty. She was duly voted to represent her people, and now she's not been allowed to do, you know, her constitutional, to perform her constitutional duty and to fulfill her objective, her responsibility to the people of Kogin Central. So it is very, very, and it even calls for a question. It begs for this, that begs for answer. Is it because she's a female senator? Is it because she's not, you know, maybe aligning with some caucus in the National Assembly? Those are
taking in gender based.
Yeah, of course, people will talk like that. People will also, you know, look into that angle, that if it was a male senator, would they try this? You know, stuff like that. And even the main issue, the origin of this problem can be seen as, because it started with sexual harassment and all of that. If it was a male senator,
actually started with the drama that happened in the Senate.
Drama happened in the Senate, but the
misconduct, disrespect in the Senate.
But what
allegations?
What led to that misconduct? According to her, she said that she didn't do anything wrong, that she's just been, you know, picked. They're just picking on her because of the sexual harassment that has been happening underground. That's why she came out to reveal what happened underground, because she was suspended due to misconduct. And she said that it was not even the misconduct, it was because of what has been happening underground that she's been, you know. I mean, it's very, very sad and unfortunate, but we just hope that the National Assembly will do what is right. Because for me, I also am of opinion, I don't want to conclude, but I think it is not right for her not to be allowed into the Senate after the expiration of her suspension.
All right, thank you very much. Until come your way for the Thursday edition tomorrow. Stay well, stay safe. I remain Grace Ugalahe.
And I am Samuel Akin today. Thank you for being part of today's program.
Yeah,
see you tomorrow, and bye for now.